Good morning, everybody. Brad Logan here for Rebs247.com and also the Logan Media Network from a very cold Walt Hemingway Stadium. I don't know if it's incredibly cold, but when you're used to 81, 82 degrees and all of a sudden it dips into the high 40s and low 50s, it's cold. And it's going to be a cool one today, something to monitor for sure. All across the South, the weather has changed dramatically and gotten much, much colder. But today, it's Ole Miss, 8-1, 4-1 to the SEC, welcoming in the Alabama Crimson Tide with a record of uncharacteristically 7-2, 4-2 of the SEC after dropping games on the road to Tennessee and LSU. We know all the numbers about Nick Saban losing 2 games in a season and then 2 in a row and then 3 in a row. It just doesn't happen very often. So today, Ole Miss will have their hands full. A couple of keys to victory today, but before we do, we want to thank our sponsor today, BetOnline. BetOnline, where the game starts. And also our sponsor with Debbie Johnson and Debbie Johnson Realty. She works with Kessinger Real Estate. She can be your real estate agent today. She was our real estate agent here on the Logan Media Network. Just shoot me a direct message. I'll get you in touch with Debbie. That's at Brad Logan, COTE, on Twitter. Today, Ole Miss is going to have to do a couple of things. Number one, Jackson Dart is going to have to protect the football. I have no doubt in my mind that Alabama, Pete Golding, their defensive coordinator, and head coach Nick Saban, is going to do their best to stop the Ole Miss rushing attack. What's that mean? Ole Miss is going to have a productive game throwing the football. We saw Casey Kelly at tight end play well against Texas A&M. That's good news. There are reports out there that Michael Trigg Jr. could come back and play some tight end today, so definitely something to monitor. But everybody's going to be looking for Jonathan Mingo. What happens with Jonathan Mingo? Is this a game where Malik Heath steps up? The passing game is going to win or lose the game for Ole Miss. I feel pretty certain of that. From a defensive standpoint, does Cedric Johnson play? The right defensive end. We heard from Lane Kiffin on Reb Talk on Thursday night with David Kellum on the Ole Miss Network that the team looks really healthy on defense. He did not specify who looks healthy, but he said the team looks healthy on defense. You have to assume that means both Cedric Johnson, the defensive end, J.J. Pegues, the nose tackle that's been dealing with an ankle injury, and Troy Brown, the linebacker that's been dealing with an injury, and Kari Coleman, the linebacker that's been dealing with an injury. If that's the case, then Ole Miss should be pretty good and ready to go. The question is how's the depth? Is that defensive backfield going to be able to rebound after a horrible day against LSU a couple of weeks ago? The good news, they played much better against Hayes King, Wegman, the rest of the crew that played quarterback for Texas A&M last week. Or the week before, excuse me. So that's definitely a key for Ole Miss. And third, what are you going to do with Bryce Young? The question is Ole Miss going to allow him to get outside the pocket and make some reads down the field and put more pressure on that defensive backfield? Or can Cedric Johnson, that defensive line, contain Bryce Young and not allow him to get outside the pocket and make some reads? If they can put pressure on Bryce Young, hopefully, if you're a Rebel fan, get him to make some mistakes with the football. That lends itself to be pretty good shape for Ole Miss defensively. The downside of that is if he rolls out, he gets some separation from those wide receivers. Now, this Alabama team, we talked with Drew DeArmond of ESPN Radio and TiderInsider.com a little bit earlier in the week and talked about Alabama does not have that burner when it comes to a receiver. We'll see who might step up today for the Crimson Tide. As it stands, Ole Miss is 8-1, has its future in front of them. They'll need some help today. LSU's playing on the road at a cold Arkansas. I heard it was spitting snow up on the hill. Anything can happen. Anything can happen with LSU on the road. Against Texas A&M down the road. There's an opportunity for Texas A&M to knock off LSU. Ole Miss needs to take care of business. Win and let it sort itself out. I want to remind you today, you get all the game coverage at Inside the Rebels, an affiliate of 24/7 Sports. There's also a great article by Steve Wiltfong who covers recruiting for 24/7 Sports. Today is a huge day for recruiting for Ole Miss. You can get every visitor that's going to be on campus here today and get an in-depth review from David Johnson, Steve Wiltfong, and the entire team on Rebs247.com, an affiliate of 24/7 Sports. We call it Inside the Rebels. There'll be a live thread all day long. Follow along, and we'll talk to you after the game. It's Ole Miss and Alabama, one we've had circled here on the network, and I know one you've had circled along with this team. Rebels, Crimson Tide coming up at 2:30 on CBS. We'll talk to you after the game.